When was the last time you were lonely?
What did you do?
Did you have a place to go, someone to be with?
Did you perhaps make your way here for Sunday service, or a supper on Thursday night, or a committee meeting or chalice circle? Perhaps you came this morning lonely. One Sunday afternoon, a young woman approached me, 18 or 19 years old, to tell me that she had been feeling lonely day after day and wanted, in her words, a place where a body could just go anytime and drop in to find community. My heart ached in hearing her, knowing that loneliness, and knowing that I didn't have a place to offer her where she could drop in any time of the week and find welcoming arms and ears to listen to her.
In the modern classic movie, The Big Lebowski, a renegade group of friends centers around the bowling alley. The bowling alley is a place for fellowship and fun. It's a place just to be with one another. And in the book, Bowling Alone, Robert Putnam describes how there are fewer and fewer bowling leagues. There are fewer and fewer places where we are engaged with one another in our civic fellowship. That it's actually it's more common that we don't have a group that we're a part of, where we have social connections and people know our names, than that we do.
Hold fast to dreams.
For if dreams die,
life is a broken-winged bird
that cannot fly.
Hold fast to dreams.
For when dreams go,
life is a barren field
frozen with snow.
Hold fast to dreams.
What dreams brought you to this place? What dreams will you take with you when you go?
What powerful dreams our spiritual ancestors must have had to build this sanctuary. These stone walls were built to last, built to house their dreams and the dreams of generations to come. They were built by people who had inherited a tradition of liberal religion from those who came before them. We are woven into a tapestry of covenant that spans through time, strands of dreams and lives intermingling through sanctuaries of stone and spirals of stories, always yearning to make a pattern of beloved community.
Do you remember the first time you came to this stone sanctuary? Were you by yourself? Did you know someone here? Had you been to the website? What was it like? A little uncomfortable? Maybe a little awkward? You didn't know what to expect exactly. You thought there would be people who you'd get along with, but you didn't exactly know how it would begin. You didn't exactly know what to expect.
For many who come into our walls, they know something about Unitarian Universalism and might have shared our culture in the past. For many, the fact that everybody else seems to be on the same page here with the cues of when to stand up and when to sit down, they feel like they fit right in. But for many, coming in is an experience of entering an alien world. This might have been your experience, and many of these people share our values, our beliefs, our commitments, but still feel uncomfortable walking through the door.
And it's not that they're uncomfortable about what we're talking about.
It's not because we mention the G word every few months.
It's because they hear a message they fundamentally disagree with.
And it's not because we're unfriendly or they feel ignored.
For many, it's things that make so many of us feel at home. The warm wooden pews, a thick, hard-backed hymnal, an elegant organ, an elevated pulpit.
Or through the stranger's eyes, these hard, uncomfortable, narrow seats. A strange and rigid dance of standing and sitting choreographed to the opening and closing of heavy gray books. An ancient musical instrument looming overhead. An antiquated seat of authority where funny costumed people tell you what to think. Now, some of these strangers, of course, join us. They appreciate our open arms and the sense of community they find here, along with values that resonate. They grow accustomed to our bizarre traditions. They adopt our ways as their own. Because, indeed, we are all longing for that place where all of us belongs, where all our multiple pieces are welcomed. And for many of us, church works. It is that place. But not for everyone. We know that church attendance is rapidly declining in our country. And as UUA President Peter Morales describes in his recent letter in our UU World magazine, this is actually a breathtaking opportunity for Unitarian Universalism. In the 1960s, when Peter was in college, 1 in 20 students said they had no religious affiliation. Only 1 in 20. By the year 2000, that number had grown to 1 in 8, and today it is 1 in 4. The ranks of the nuns and the spiritual but not religious are swelling, and in so many ways, these are our people. Except for the whole church thing.
Church, some people act like it's a bad word or even something to fear. Last year, I was at a hotel near the Oakland airport setting up with other Unitarian Universalists for our district gathering. And I was with the Reverend here, Barbara Hamilton Holloway, and she and I were setting up the name tags on the welcome table, and we were laying them all out and getting organized, and people were coming by, and we were greeting them and smiling. And a gentleman with his son walked by our table, and he said, "Oh, what's your group?" And Barbara smiled, and she said, "We're a church group." And his face fell, and he sort of leaned away slowly from us, and he took his hand of his son and guided them away quickly. "Oh, okay, thank you, bye." I wanted to jump across the table and say, no, we love you. Our church is centered in love. That is the theology that binds us together. And we wanted not to scare you off when we said that we were a church. And so, even though some people are scared by church, some people are at home at church, and still this loneliness is so present in so much of our world. We live in an age where we can communicate in so many ways. You can call, text, page, email. You can still send a letter through the mail. And you can poke someone on Facebook. But it isn't necessarily creating deeper relationships. More connection has not necessarily meant more authenticity. So many in this country say that they don't know if they could name 3 people they would call when they needed someone to help them. And so even as religious affiliation and membership has declined, the spiritual and community needs of people persist. Places where the soul is welcomed are few and far between. And we know when we are in these places, we are transformed, and we feel the call to transform our world. As Unitarian Universalists, we are inheritors of a tradition that boldly proclaims we need not think alike to love alike. And yet we live in a culture in which we need to be reminded that it's not all thinking, and we still need to love one another. Here we have practice listening to one another's stories. Here we have a moment to look into the eyes of someone who has gone through a loss and is experiencing grief. Here we celebrate the joy of new and renewed life in community. And we know that church and religion need not be bad words, need not be so scary.
We know that church will continue working for many of us. Church will speak to the next generation. But we must also face that there are a lot of others out there who are still lonely, who could use a shot of our life-giving theology, who would appreciate the quality of community we already know how to cultivate, who already resonate with our values, but who won't ever join us simply because we're a church.
So here's the plan.
We infiltrate.
Like a Trojan horse.
We go undercover.
Bring your friends.
We're going to take religion to the place where everyone will least suspect it. We'll lure them in with delicious caffeinated beverages and scrumptious snacks, and then, while they're not looking, we'll pour in the love.
There'll be guests at our welcome table, and we'll serve hope for the world we all dream about. It'll be that vision of beloved community.
So imagine a hometown diner. The comfort where everybody knows your name.
Stir in the creativity of a cosmopolitan art scene.
Fire it up with international activist zeal.
Add rich spiritual practices and religious teachings from many sources.
Mix in great music.
Serve with local food and delicious fair trade coffee.
That's Beloved Cafe. It's a place to meet the spiritual needs that are with us every day, not just on Sunday morning.
It's centered around sharing food, an ancient spiritual practice of every tradition. The tea ceremony, the Shabbat meal, Holy Communion, breaking the fast after Ramadan, simple feasts at harvest time.
What could happen at Beloved Cafe? Our whole lives, sexuality education classes are taught after school to kids in the community, reaching so many lives with our good news of original blessing. A small bookstore shares the latest from Beacon Press, Unitarian Universalism's voice for good in the world. A language exchange, workshops on arts and social change and spirituality, meditation classes, parent support groups, recovery groups.
A community organizer who works on site, connecting people with organizations, actions, and movements.
You may be starting to realize it's actually not all that different from anything that we already do here. The thing is, we need to do what we are doing here in more places and in new ways. Reverend Dan Harper, a minister of religious education, when we spoke about the idea, said, well, what you're doing sounds just like religious education, the way we've always done it. You get people around the table, you serve them apple juice and cookies, and then you talk about the things that are most meaningful.
Together we brew justice, pour love, and serve life. in so many places around the world, and particularly I know in my travels in Central America, every town, every city, no matter how large or how small, there's a plaza. And in the plaza, there's an iglesia, a church. And the church is the center of the town. It's where people come when they're weary and tired and just need a place to be. Some place to put down their backpack or purse, some place where they don't need to pretend to be looking busy, just a place to be. This is what it means to have a sanctuary.
The spiritual but not religious, the religiously unaffiliated need these places too. Our cities need these places, and as Unitarian Universalists, we have a special place in offering these places. We have a theology that is broad enough and wide enough to make a spiritual home for people who are longing for more community in their lives. So a group of us has been working on this specific idea, this one possibility of Beloved Cafe. We want to open an actual cafe somewhere here in the Bay Area. But we've become part of a broader and exciting conversation that's happening throughout Unitarian Universalism right now. It's been dubbed Congregations and Beyond. And it looks at how do we as congregations maintain what we have here, this beautiful inheritance, this beloved community, and then reach out beyond our walls to create more of our values in the world. We are living in the age of innovation. Let's get to it.
We're not a one-size-fits-all theology, and we don't need a one-size-fits-all institution. Wendell Berry, a poet and scholar from Kentucky, writes that he doesn't believe there are big solutions to big problems. He says, "I believe in hundreds of small solutions to a few big problems." Beloved Cafe is a small thing we can do that can address some big problems.
We are widening the welcome table. Come, you longing, thirsty souls.
We are widening the welcome table. Come, O you longing, thirsty souls.
May it be so. Amen.
Amen.